Good evening. You're watching the news. I'm Nidhi Razdan. These are the headlines tonight. EMIs are likely to become more expensive as the Reserve Bank hikes a key interest rate. Inflation is also going to hurt at least until December. A top US general says that Chinese activity near Ladakh is an eye-opener, that the infrastructure being created is alarming. A shocking story from Lucknow. A 16-year-old video game addict kills his own mother when he's been nagged over his gaming addiction. The boy actually hid his mother's body in a room for 2 days before his sister gave him up. Meanwhile, a mother tortures her 5-year-old child. A video goes viral showing the 5-year-old being tied up and left on a roof in Delhi in the hot, scorching sun. The Delhi police step in. There's a massive heat wave across North India. Temperatures are 3 to 5 degrees above normal. 36 cities today in India recorded a temperature of above 44 degrees. And the Met Department says there's no respite, at least for the next 48 hours. Well, the top story tonight is the economy, with the Reserve Bank of India announcing another rate hike today in order to tame inflation. A key lending rate was hiked by the RBI from 4.4 to 4.9%, which means that EMIs are expected to get more expensive for many of us. This is the RBI's highest lending rate hike since February of 2020. The RBI has also warned all of us that you can expect inflation to be quite high, at least until the end of the year.
Your loan EMIs are likely to rise, while inflation will continue to hurt till December at least, as the Reserve Bank raised both its interest rate and its inflation forecast. RBI raised its key lending rate by 50 basis points, taking it up to its highest level since February 2020.
Based on an assessment of the macroeconomic situation and the outlook, the MPC voted unanimously to increase the policy repo rate by 50 basis points to 4.90% with immediate effect.
The policy has been a bit more aggressive than what we had expected, but given the fact that the inflationary forecast of the RBI has become a bit more severe for the first 3 quarters, I think now we could expect another 50 to 75 basis points increase in the repo rate.
Interest rate hikes make getting a loan more expensive. The rate at which commercial banks can get money from the central bank has now increased, and banks pass on this hike to us consumers. For example, on 1st of May, before the 2 hikes announced by the RBI, you had to pay a 37,722 rupee EMI on a 50 lakh loan for 20 years at SBI. It went up to 38,915 after RBI raised its interest rate in May, and if the same pattern follows, the EMI could go up to 40,433 rupees. The total interest you had to pay on this loan was 40,53,163 in May, and it could now go up to over 47 lakh. So getting a loan could get 16% more expensive compared to the amount in May, and this will hurt the common people who are already struggling with rising food and fuel prices.
मिक्सी तक फाइनेंस हो रही है, मोबाइल तक फाइनेंस हो रहा है, और जब फाइनेंस का रेट रेपो रेट बढ़ेगा तो इन सारी चीज़ों के फाइनेंसिंग पे असर पड़ेगा, और ये आदमी की एक तरह से इनडायरेक्ट वे में कमर तोड़ने की बात हो रही है।
उससे दिक्कत तो आएगी भाई, हर आदमी लोन लेता है, उसके बगैर काम नहीं चलेगा। वैसे ही कोरोना से आदमी परेशान है।
हर कोई इंसान यही चाहता है कि वो एक व्यवसाय डाले, एक छोटा सा, पर इस रेपो रेट के बढ़ने से क्या होगा कि वो ले नहीं पाएगा अच्छे से, या फिर वो संकोच करेगा लेने में, और उससे वो आत्मनिर्भर तो मुश्किल ही बन पाएगा।
And the trouble for the common man does not end here. The hole in your pocket could get deeper as inflation is expected to remain above RBI's tolerance level.
Inflation is now projected at 6.7% in 2022-23, that is the current year, with Q1 at 7.5%, Q2 at 7.4%, Q3 at 6.2%, and Q4 at 5.8%, with risks evenly balanced.
Markets reacted to the sharp rate hike by trading in the red. Sensex lost 214 points to end at 54,892, while Nifty went down by 60 points to settle at 16,356.
Till May, more than 40 central banks across the globe raised interest rates or scaled back liquidity. While rate hikes are a common tool for central banks to control inflation, they hurt the demand in the economy, causing fears of an economic slump. Despite a steep price rise and interest rate hikes, the Reserve Bank is positive about India's economic growth, retaining its GDP forecast for the current year at 7.2%. But inflation, coupled with fears of a slow economic growth, is leading to stagflation risks across countries. But for now, the Reserve Bank of India has clearly prioritized targeting inflation, which is at an 8-year high. Priyanshi Sharma for NDTV.
Meanwhile, the other big story today, a top US General, Charles Flynn, has warned of alarming levels of Chinese activity near Ladakh, especially the amount of infrastructure they are building. My colleague Vishnu Shom now joining us for more on that story. Vishnu, what is the US General saying?
Well, this is the top US Army General looking after the Asia-Pacific theatre, and what he says about China is important because it's something that he observes very closely, and the language which he used is actually fairly significant. He said that Chinese activity near Ladakh was, to use his own words, eye-opening. He also said that infrastructure being created by China was in fact alarming. So fairly strong words being used there by the American general. He also said that the Chinese were following what he said was an incremental and insidious path in terms of whatever their goals were in this region, which resulted in destabilizing and corrosive behavior. Chinese behavior was destabilizing and corrosive, and the question that really needed to be asked was, why is China doing this? That's a big question that remains unanswered. Therefore, it's something which we've known for a while here in India about China's infrastructure build-up. This comes from a very close ally who also says that it's time we must work together to be a counterweight to what China has been doing in Asia. Nidhi?
Vishnu, very quickly, any response from the government of India at all? It doesn't say much on Ladakh.
Well, the government of India isn't responding at all on this. I mean, this is essentially known. But as far as Ladakh is concerned, what the general did refer to was the Western Theatre Command of the Chinese. From the Chinese perspective, that includes Ladakh and the Ladakh region as well. So the general was certainly talking about things very much at our doorstep, in fact, within our territory as well.
Vishnu, thanks very much. Now another shocker today. A 16-year-old boy in Lucknow, a video game addict, killed his mother, his own mother, because she was nagging him over his gaming addiction. The teenager actually used his father's pistol to kill his mother, then hid his mother's body in a room for 2 days. He then claimed that an electrician had committed the crime before his younger sister gave him up.
This Lucknow woman shot dead by her 16-year-old son, a minor, only because she asked him not to play a mobile phone game he was addicted to. The Lucknow police say the incident happened on Saturday night at this home on the outskirts of Lucknow. The revolver used belonged to the teen's father, who is posted with the Indian Army in a different state. Even more shocking, the teen covered up the killing for 2 days. He first hid his mother's body at home and stayed inside with his 9-year-old sister, threatening her not to shout or try and call anyone. The boy used a room freshener to cover the foul smell, police said. When the stench got unbearable, the boy called up his father and cooked up a fake story that the woman was shot dead by an electrician who had visited the house for some work.
इसने बताया कि एक बिजली वाला है जो कि घर में आता है और इस घटना को अंजाम देता है, बट जब बिजली वाले के बारे में जब डिटेल पूछा गया तो ये एक टोटली फेक स्टोरी थी, एक काल्पनिक स्टोरी थी. उसको हम लोगों ने हिरासत में ले लिया है.
The police say the teen confessed to the crime during the police interrogation. This shocking incident has once again exposed the perils of unregulated gaming amongst teenagers and children, especially on the mobile phone. And given that something as ghastly as this has happened, perhaps there is need for even more regulation at the level of the parents and also perhaps at the level of the government, some more regulation that can prevent such addiction to gaming, especially among young people. With camera person Rajesh Gupta, this is Alok Pandey, NDTV.
It's absolutely incomprehensible to see a 16-year-old do that. And from Lucknow, we move on to Hyderabad, where, of course, again, you have that horrific gang rape of a 17-year-old girl. 6 of those arrested, 5 of them are minors, possibly her schoolmates. They're sons of influential politicians in the city. My colleague Uma Sudhir has traced the 6 hours of horror that this rape survivor had to face. Here is her report.
May 28th, party organised at Amnesia pub. 1:10 p.m, survivor arrived at pub with friend. 1:50 p.m, survivor's friend left, she met another friend. 3:15 p.m, one of the accused minors approached the survivor. The accused, Saduddin Malik, and a minor misbehaved with the survivor. 5:40 p.m, the survivor left the pub after repeated molestation. The minors planned the crime and approached the girl outside. 5:43 p.m. The survivor and 4 minors left in the Mercedes for a bakery. Saduddin and 3 minors got into an Innova. On their way to the bakery, the minors forcibly kissed the survivor and made videos. 5:51 p.m. The 2 cars reached the bakery. 5:54 p.m. The survivor got off the Mercedes and got into the Innova. 3 others also got into the Innova from the Mercedes. 6:18 p.m. Saduddin and 4 minors took the survivor in the Innova. They parked the car behind Pedamma Temple on road number 44. The 5 accused took turns to rape the survivor. 7:31 p.m. The Innova came back to the pub. The girl was dropped there. 7:53 p.m. The girl called her father, who came to pick her up.
Your police is accused of actually giving a clean chit to one of the minors who has now been arrested and named as A6, and allegation being that till the video was put out by an opposition leader, you did not act.
No, that is not true at all. The point is that at that stage, the evidence had not yet come through. There was a lot of political storm about it. And if you see the investigation, the first accused was arrested on the 3rd itself, and then on 4th, the following day, another 2 were arrested, and the following day another 1. So there was no delay as and when the facts became clearer, because we can't act on newspaper reports or media reports or on political considerations. We are an investigation agency. We are officers of law, and we are bound by the rules and the laws in place.
We are behind the Pedamma Gudi on road number 44, where the Hyderabad police says that the Innova was brought and parked. This is actually not such a desolate area. There would still be cars and vehicles coming here. This is where the car was parked, and one by one, these 5 people, 4 minors and 1 adult, sexually assaulted, in fact raped the girl inside that car. The police has subsequently found evidence, we are told, not just bodily fluids but also certain other personal belongings of the girl, including her hair strands inside that particular car that they subsequently discovered at Moinabad.
Meanwhile, a horrific video went viral on social media today showing a 5-year-old child in Delhi tied up with a rope on the roof of a house, screaming in pain in the scorching heat. The Delhi police stepped in as the video caused outrage online and found out that the child's own mother had done this to her as punishment for not finishing her homework. My colleague Sukirti Dwivedi joining us for more on that story. Sukirti, what are the police saying about this? What action have they taken?
Well, as far as the official statement from the police is concerned, they've issued a statement over Twitter saying that appropriate action has been initiated by them. However, there's no clarity on what exactly is this action that they've taken. Apart from that, in the probe, the police seems to have found that the mother said that this was a punishment for not doing homework, and this is a punishment that was given for a duration of only about 5 to 7 minutes. However, to look at it from a humanitarian angle, the duration of that punishment does not matter. It is the brutality that matters here, and also the age of the child, who's just a 5-year-old child, to be abandoned on the roof of a house in that manner at 2 p.m. in the afternoon in temperatures that are ranging from 40 to 45 degrees Celsius in the midst of a heat wave in the national capital. That has led to all of this people on Twitter lashing out at the mother, and how could she be so inhuman towards her own child. So one is relieved at the fact that the police has at least managed to trace this family and this address to Khajuri Khas in northeast Delhi, and has initiated a conversation with the mother and seems to have initiated action.
If you look at the temperatures in Delhi, I'm going to go to that story next. There are actually 36 cities today in India recorded a temperature of above 44 degrees, and that includes Delhi. So there is a massive heat wave at that moment, which is why it's even more difficult to see the video of that child suffer in the way that she is. And the Met Department is saying that there's not any respite for the next 2 to 3 days at least. Even hill stations are seeing very high temperatures.
"36 cities in the country have recorded temperatures above 44 degrees, mainly from Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh. The reason why temperatures are 3 to 5 degrees above the norm is due to lack of pre-monsoon showers.
Heat wave conditions are going on over many parts of northwest and central India, including Delhi and NCR, since last 4 to 5 days. Reason being, the hot and dry westerly winds from northwest direction are blowing over Indo-Gangetic plains, including Delhi and NCR, leading to increase in temperature, and these heat wave conditions are expected to continue for another 24 to 48 hours. And pre-monsoon activities may commence from June 11 or 12 over isolated pockets of northwest India.
Heat wave to continue over Jammu and Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Delhi, Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Jharkhand as well as Odisha over the next 2 days.
अभी तो 4-5 दिन के लिए ज़्यादा चेंजेस होने का चांसेस नहीं है टेम्परेचर का, हालांकि स्लाइटली कुछ स्थानों पर इंक्रीज करने का भी चांसेस है आज ही। तो इसलिए हमारा आज अगला 3 दिन में हीट वेव का भी वार्निंग्स, आइसोलेटेड पॉकेट्स में हीट वेव कंडीशन भी अराइज कर सकता है अगला 3 दिन का अंदर।
Now let's track the monsoon, which hasn't really made much progress, even though it covered more parts of Tamil Nadu and Puducherry yesterday. We see that monsoon has been slow, and by now pre-monsoon showers should have started in Mumbai, and even that hasn't happened yet. All eyes are on the monsoon to hit central parts of the country soon in order for it to bring down the oppressive temperatures and heatwave conditions which are prevailing at the moment. This is Divya Vadwa for NDTV.
Meanwhile, in news just coming in, the Delhi police claim to have cracked Sidhu Moosewala's murder case. They've announced that gangster Lawrence Bishnoi is the mastermind, the one who ordered the popular Punjabi singer's murder, which happened more than a week ago. Let's listen into what the police are saying.
इस केस का बेसिकली जो आप इस टाइम पे जानना चाहते हैं ये नहीं बता सकते, हम ये बता सकते हैं कि ही इज द मास्टरमाइंड बिहाइंड द किलिंग। कैसे किया वो वी विल नॉट बी एबल टू शेयर।